Okay, welcome to the second Wenton episode. As you've probably guessed by that laugh. As you've probably guessed by that laugh, this is a horror special. Hammer horror special.
Derided by critics, loved by thousands. Hated with the passion of a peasant with a burning torch by Mary Whitehouse.
Mary Whitehouse, that comedy show from the 90s.
Yeah, that was a funny show. We experienced that.
Yeah.
Anyway, a horror special. So, horror then.
Terror occurs when you're expecting something to happen. Horror is what occurs as you're watching something happen.
Yeah, and after you've seen it. So you see the man with the axe, you see the leg, you see the axe, you see the leg, that's the terror. The axe chops the leg in half and you can see all the sort of bits of stuff hanging out. That's horror.
But yeah, horror is such a broad subject that there's so much stuff out there and so much work been done on it that there probably is sort of like different definitions put on various things.
Yeah, we're a little bit more knowledgeable about this one than, last week we did Sherlock Holmes and you know a bit, I don't know anything at all. But this time we're a bit more knowledgeable, aren't we? But we also have some ancient horror scriptures which we'll be reading from. They're written in Sanskrit or something.
How is your Sanskrit, Kev? I had a bit of a brush up and I'm not too bad now, but
I'm a bit rusty. We'll have to see how it goes, but we'll translate as best we can. Execrable.
The Wenton Project. Should we do a top 5 Hammer horror films and make it real?
Yes.
Let's do a real top 5.
So I think it's time for a top 5 then, don't you?
I think so, yes.
Top 5, go.
At 5,
Frankenstein created woman.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one. It's very silly.
Yeah.
But it is basically Bride of Frankenstein, obviously. That's the definitive Hammer Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah. I mean, there might be more than one Frankenstein film in this. Do you know how many there were in total?
Lots.
7.
7?
Yeah. From 1957 to 1974, they made 7 Frankenstein films.
There's probably even more Dracula films, actually.
There are 9 Dracula films.
Why don't you make something different?
It's probably a bit of a clue as to sort of what happened to Hammer horror.
Yeah. There's a theme there, isn't there?
Yeah. But 5 was, what was it?
Frankenstein created woman. Yeah.
Frankenstein created woman. Okay, and at number 4 we got
Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
1969, that one.
Now, I don't remember this one. I know there's a trilogy of 3 awesome films, and that's the one I don't remember.
Right, okay.
So it's a bit later.
Good how it got in at number 4, although neither of us have seen it.
I've seen them all, but I just don't remember it.
Okay. Number 3?
The Devil Rides Out.
Oh, what a film.
Yeah, in some ways that's the best Hammer film, but you'll see what's coming, so that had to be number 3, because the quality's increasing with every minute.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably unique top 5. We're actually doing a proper top 5 this time.
Yes, this is a real top 5.
Yeah. And we're getting in at number 2.
Number 2, The Curse of Frankenstein.
First ever Hammer horror.
Yeah, first proper Hammer horror. They did stuff before that. They did a lot of films before that, and significantly, they did Quatermass.
Yeah, I think this was 1957. This was the first film after the Quatermass experiment, and this is the first one that they collaborated with our American friends.
Yeah,
and it was in colour.
Quatermass is horror. I think it's horror science fiction, though. It's definitely as much sci-fi as it is horror. Yeah. So it's not purist enough, so we don't count that. Yeah. But it is fantastic, particularly the third one, Quatermass and Bit.
And so that's number 2. And at number 1,
Twins of Evil.
Why is that number 1? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's from the 70s, so I don't quite get what how we came to that conclusion, but we were sure when we watched it that it was the best one.
But yeah, that was the top 5.
Yep, that's the top 5. We're going to go straight into now another epic. You have to remember that Hammer stopped producing horror films in the 70s, and they've talked about doing remakes or going back to making horror films, and we've done it for them. This is the new Dracula movie. This is the script for the new Dracula movie. We're gonna send this to Hammer or to Hollywood or something, and it'll probably get made because that's how good it is.
Yeah, I've got their address sorted, so we can send the scripts over. It's Hammer Studios, care of Hollywood, America.
They'll get there.
Yeah, but they don't need to read the script. They're going to hear it on this episode, aren't they?
They're going to hear it. You're getting it for free on the Wenton Project.
Yeah. One extremely ripe blood orange, the leg bone of a box jellyfish, essence of fruit bat, 3 gallons of blood from a virgin marketing consultant, and that should do it. Oh, and the nose hair from a white kitten. There, everything is ready. Diablo proximo parado diferito. Annus ringus virus ferocious. Evil Lord, your servant makes these offerings so that you may rise and take vengeance on the detestable and lamentable Van Helsing. Nudus mingus your momnus.
I needed that. Thank you, Igor. It was getting really stuffy in there. First things first, I got a thirst on like a mud skipper in the Sahara. Where's the virgins?
This way, master.
So that's horror then. That what you just heard, that defines horror. It's
Yeah.
the definition. It defines it. It is horror. We need to talk about what is horror then, don't we? What is horror?
Oh, bloody hell, what is horror?
It's horrible. We're a bit confused about the meaning of terror and horror, so we won't worry about that. To me, it's not about anything that's real. It's not about real life. Saving Private Ryan, that's not a horror film. It's horrible, but it's not a horror film.
So being scared doesn't necessarily define...
Well, there's different types of being scared, isn't there? I mean, I think the best way to define it is nightmares when you're a kid. Do you ever have really weird nightmares when you're a kid? Can you remember any nightmares from when you were a kid?
Yeah.
They were always they were surreal, weren't they? Because growing up, you don't know about those horrors. The horrors of real life, you know. So you invent this dream world, and apparently that's why kids need to watch scary films and things, because they need to learn to have those emotions, and that's where it comes from. I think that's what horror is. I mean, I've got this memory, my earliest memory of any sort of dream at all, where I used to live, and I was standing there on this road, and I could see me nan and my brother over on this path. But between me and them was a man with normal arms and legs, and the rest of him was a brick wall, like a chimney, walking towards me. He was coming to get me.
It's amazing that what was scary turns into comedy.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it?
I mean, there is a link between comedy and horror.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain, isn't it? But it is there.
That is horror. I mean, the reason that Saving Private Ryan isn't a horror movie, although it is quite scary places, is that the main thrust of the film is to tell the story of
something true.
This troop that go in to save.
Yeah, it's real.
Whereas the purpose of a horror film is to erase that emotion of fear.
Yeah, it's
terror.
It's escapism. It's surreal. And it's something different.
Imagine the sun is shining. It's early morning and the shops have just opened. It's getting quite busy due to it being Bean Eat Day. Just an ordinary day. But not just an ordinary day for Steve McTakeaway. Yesterday, his day was much like the kind of days you and I experience. A fine day. A day of fun if it wasn't for that evil bitch telling the neighbours about those skid marks. Imagine having to put up with that kind of nagging and mockery just because you left a tiny skid mark on a couple of pairs of underwear. But I digress. As we will see, Steve McTakeaway's day will be different. For today, he will discover that he isn't like you and me, for he's about to discover that he has a baked bean factory inside his nose.
Come on, Stephen, or you'll be late for the great bean eat.
I'm coming, Ma. Can we pick up Terry on the way?
We can try. You know what happened last time, after all.
You said we'd never speak of that, Ma. We've still not got the smell of celery out of my car.
Hey, Stephen. What's that coming out of your nose?
It's a bean. A baked bean. Let me try it.
What? No, don't.
There's another. Oh, I'll have that one.
Stop it.
There's more coming out. Quick, get a bowl or something.
I've only got the celery bowl.
Well, forget it. There's loads coming out now.
Hang on a minute.
Let's tuck in.
Steve McTakeaway's life has now changed for the worst. If it wasn't for those beans, he would be just an ordinary guy. The journey through life is paved with many experiences. In this case, it was deep in tomato sauce. Good night.
So Christopher Lee was one of the main actors in Hammer Horror.
Yep, Christopher Lee, the giant, literally and metaphorically, the giant, the ultimate Dracula. Not just Dracula, very important. A really good actor, even in the crap films. A really good actor, brilliant in The Wicker Man.
Yeah,
that's the best movie he's ever been in. It's not necessarily his best role. Best movie he's ever been in. Saruman. He's Saruman. You know, it's not just Dracula.
But he's got a lot of gravity now, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was in things like To Devil a Daughter. He was a vicar. There's something about the way he gives it which makes it Hammer-like.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, he was sort of the definitive Dracula for a while. He played that role so many times. Up until that point, Bela Lugosi was
Dracula, yeah.
Was Dracula.
And he's comical.
Yeah.
And that's really his accent.
I watched Plan 9 from Outer Space the other night.
Hey.
And that's got Bela Lugosi in it, playing exactly the same role.
Yeah.
He's an old man who gets revived by some aliens because they're going to execute Plan 9 to take over the world.
Yeah.
Which is bring the dead back to life. Bela Lugosi's walking around with his head behind a cape.
It's quite sad, really. He was typecast as a comical character that just became a joke.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, really.
Kev, improvisation.
Improvise.
The Wenton Project. So, we'll be back after these messages.
Enjoy.
Oh my god, it's Dracula! Shouldn't you be in Transylvania or something?
Well,
Also, it's getting light outside. Don't you need to go back to your coffin?
actually, no, you see...
Anyway, please don't drink my blood.
Actually, don't worry. I've got new Fresher Breath tablets out now from Wentino. The Fresh Breath tablets guaranteed to hide the stench of stale blood and bits of neck.
Oh well, in that case, suck away.
Not only that, but buy 5 packets and get Tormented Soul free.
I love Fresher Breath tablets.
A possible side effect is that your soul may also become tormented after frequent use. If torment continues, consult your GP.
But doctor, why shouldn't I just buy generic butter product?
Purely helps lower cholesterol and looks after your heart. Love your heart.
Thanks, doctor. I'm going now to do some sort of physical sport that would look good if this was on the telly.
Don't give your heart too much work. It needs to be kept in good condition. It's alive! I mean, it lives!
Susan Pizza, Jake speaking, am I a help?
Hello, yeah, I'm doing some market research for a late night podcast called The Wenton Project. Do you listen to it at all?
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of market research for a late night podcast called The Wenton Project. Do you listen to it at all?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Menstrual problems.
The Wenton Project.
But Christopher Lee really added an element of seriousness to the roles. He kind of reinvented Dracula.
Yeah.
To a serious proposition.
Yeah.
Something to be feared.
Yeah.
Big red eyes and a deep voice.
Shakespearean actor. I mean, which isn't necessarily good acting in some contexts. I mean, you wouldn't like go in a police drama in the bill or something. You wouldn't, hello, it wouldn't be suitable, would it? There's been a robbery. In that sense, Peter Cushing is more subtle, I think. I'm sure he's still sort of Shakespearean, kind of come from the theatre, but he can be much more understated in a way, can't he?
Yeah.
Probably more versatile than Christopher Lee. I mean, he was Doctor Who. Effectively, he was the second Doctor, but he wasn't proper Doctor Who, but he did those 2 Dalek movies.
The Dalek movies didn't make my top 50 sci-fi list, Kev. Are you disappointed by that?
No, because they're not that good. I don't think it'd be possible to do a Doctor Who movie, really. They're not Doctor Who movies, they're Dalek movies. That's very important.
Rumours abound now that there's going to be a Doctor Who movie.
Yeah, they've said that for a while. I can't see him pulling it off. So Peter Cushing, what do you think of Peter Cushing?
Peter Cushing is fantastic. Again, he's got that
The Englishman.
Underlying gravity. When he plays the main General Geezer,
Moff Tarkin.
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's such a shame that they killed him off, actually. I'm sure it's possible if George Lucas had known that there was going to be sequels. I know he says that he planned all 6 movies, which is complete work of fiction. He wouldn't have killed him off, because he was brilliant.
You have another target, a military target, then name the system.
And only that one movie has that. It's such a shame.
Release him.
The best part of the prequels, obviously the Star Wars prequels were such a big thing, weren't they, for people our age, probably slightly younger, who grew up with Star Wars. You know, the playground stories of the other movies, and people who were really cool, they'd already seen them. So when they were made, it was such a big deal. And then Phantom Menace, obviously, which was a bag of crap. I think the greatest moment in all those movies was you had the Peter Cushing lookalike at the very end of episode 3, playing Moff Tarkin, just standing, walks up to Darth Vader. That was great. That was worth sitting through all that cobblers. No. Yeah.
George Lucas does Frankenstein. Padme.
The Wenton Project. Okay, here we are with part 2 of Dracula, Lord of Seduction.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the sheer terror this girl went through is truly terrifying. The sheer, unbelievable terror of something so terrifying that the level of terror she experienced was terrifying. To explain this in more detail, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Derek Van Helsing.
You see, she had puncture marks here, just along the carotid artery. This allows the vampire to extract as much blood as possible in a limited time. The vampire only occasionally kills his victim completely. Once someone succumbs to the vampire, they are forever under his spell. He will use them as a walking food store, coming back a month or so later when the blood supply is replenished. The physical manifestations of the vampire are well documented. In my dealings with Count Dracula, I have managed to put together a psychological study of the fiend. The vampire is a ravenous monster that preys on the human soul. Morbidly cruel and callous, he has no pity. They will spend hours of the day watching Fox News on YouTube and reading the memoirs of notoriously right-wing politicians. Thatcher, Reagan, Hitler, and George Bush's Colour by Numbers series on the oil fields of the Old Kingdom. Oh, dash it. You will have to excuse me, please, gentlemen. Right in the middle of my back tour as well. I must go to Transylvania. Dracula's status on his Facebook page has changed from dead undead to dead. We have copies of my book on sale here. It's called Van Helsing, A Bite of Life. My assistant can give you a voucher. You will get it signed when I come back. We also have a range of steaks, crucifixes, and garlic. I love you all. Be cool. I've got to go.
See you. Bye. Bye. Horror films, obviously starting when film started, they go right back to the dawn of movies, really, don't they? I mean, actual horror itself goes back further than that. Lots of literature going back to, like, I don't know, 1600s, 1700s probably, I would think. You could argue it goes further back than that. I mean, fairy tales, you know, mythological creatures and things like that. Proper fairy tales are, in their purest form, are absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, well, you think Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Jumping through the forest.
Yeah, and they kick her in the furnace at the end and she burns like Freddy Krueger. So you've got that kind of stuff, and you've got the sort of literature and stuff. Edgar Allan Poe. When is he from? Is he from a long time?
19th century, I think.
Oh, he is 19th century.
It might be 18th.
We'll check the scriptures. There's no
19th century, early 19th century.
Early 19th century, yeah. So Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. Now, a lot of people might say, oh yeah, The Raven, and they'll think of The Simpsons. And so do I, actually, because that's probably the best thing in the whole of The Simpsons is that The Raven. And they might say, well, that might have been like scary then, but it's not scary now. It's not supposed to be scary.
It's actually quite more Radiohead comes to mind. It's more about depression than it is
dark
and scary.
So you're going to do The Raven then?
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
'Tis some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more.
Ah, distinctly I remember it was the bleak December, and each separate dying member wrote its ghost upon the floor. Here I opened my door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing.
Doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token. And the only word there spoken was the whispered word.
Lenore.
This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word.
Nevermore. Lenore.
Yeah.
Okay.
This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word.
Lenore.
Merely this and nothing more. This is actually really long. I'm not even halfway through it.
Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is someone at my window lattice.
Project through the Wenton. Two must listen.
Good evening, Sketch. Daniela speaking.
Yeah, I wonder if you can help me. I've got a bit of a problem. There's two guys heading towards your restaurant at the moment.
Yeah.
I was supposed to book them in for a reservation about a month ago, and I forgot all about it.
You're joking.
Is there any chance that they're going to get in tonight?
We're fully booked tonight.
Right, okay.
I can do my best when they arrive.
Okay.
Do you know what the name is?
Yeah, it's David Swansbuckle, and he's with
David what?
Swansbuckle.
Swansbuckle, okay.
Yeah, he's with his friend Jeremy. If you can't get it, I would really appreciate if you can try and get them in. But if you can't, can you just make up something like there was a bit of a mix-up or something like that, and the reservation was made for the wrong day or something like that?
Yeah. Okay.
I'd really appreciate if you could help me out there.
I'm gonna try. Swansbuckle.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna go and do my best.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, darling.
Cheers. Bye.
Alright, bye-bye.
Project your Wenton.
So yeah, stuff like Edgar Allan Poe, certainly 1700s. You've got what we would now call horror, I think, and and then you've got in late 1800s, 19th century. You've got Mary Shelley, and you've got the other guy,
Bram Stoker,
yeah, and that stuff, and that starts obviously the classic horror period, really, doesn't it? And then it almost immediately transferred to films.
Well, let's face it, the late 19th century was just generally good for books anyway.
That's true, actually. Yeah,
stories were. I mean, it was Sherlock Holmes comes from that sort of period. That sort of period.
Yeah, it's
all the classical stories.
Yeah, time of great creativity.
Yeah,
the human race was
Victorian England.
So yeah, and then you've got a lot of horror films, a lot of quite obscure horror films, even before the 20s. There was a film called Haken, which is considered extremely sort of pioneering. We found it a bit disappointing, really.
Yeah,
it was interesting, a bit tedious. Really significantly though, in the 20s, not the first Dracula movie. There are Dracula movies before it, but Nosferatu, really good film. Max Schreck, whatever his name is, it's his only film, and he disappeared like he really was Dracula. There's some more horror films in the 20s, obviously, but the real horror became a thing people watched was the Universal movies, like Dracula with Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and Frankenstein with Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, and they were actually banned. Universal horror movies were banned from England in the Second World War. They were actually banned for being too evil,
too scary.
Yeah, and then I think you've got a period after the war of no horror movies.
Don't be silly. There's nothing up there. You can't believe in things like that, surely.
But Auntie, I heard it. I hear it every night, and I saw it once. It had it was too horrible to say.
Look, you stupid prick. Ow! Shut up. You know it's your Uncle Frank wearing a fake beard and slippers? His nudity has nothing to do with you. Now go to bed.
I can't believe it. It's the Wenton Project. And obviously it's when Hammer come along, start making horror movies. 1957 is Curse of Frankenstein, and it all started happening at that point. And there was other horror stuff at the time. There was a lot of good American stuff. Psycho is 1960, and also Peeping Tom, which should not be sneezed at as well.
I mean, Hammer Horror did try and have a go at these type of films.
They did, yeah. I don't know whether they were that successful, but they did them.
Well, they're most remembered for the Frankenstein and the Dracula movies.
Yeah, the classic gothic horror.
Yeah. After Dracula in 1958, Universal actually gave them the rights to all their back catalogue. Because there was question marks over whether, although it was out of copyright, Frankenstein, because of the time from when it was written, Universal had obviously made it.
Yeah.
And there was similarities there, and they were a bit worried about that. And it was the same with Dracula, and they negotiated some deal so that they could make Dracula. They did such a bloody good job of it.
Yes.
That they said, well, yeah, you've got the rights to all our back catalogue of these classic gothic horror films.
That's good going, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it ended up being distributed through them anyway.
Where does he get those wonderful Wenton projects?
And now it's time for part 3. Are you ready?
Part 3 of
Dracula,
Lord of Seduction.
Is this your first trip to Transylvania, Doctor?
Oh no, I've been many times before.
Is it business or pleasure?
Definitely business. What about you, Miss,
Lewisham. I'm on holiday.
in Transylvania?
There's something so visceral about it. For some reason, the people are so real here. The only thing is... They don't do chips very well, like home. And, well, the vampires, werewolves and mutilated corpse monsters are a bit of a pain. But I bought a spray for that. What about you, Dr. Van Helsing?
I'm here to see an old friend and ram a stake through his heart.
Oh, you'll need this then.
A hammer. Thank you very much.
Next stop, Castle Dracula.
Van Helsing approaches, master.
Excellent. Finally, I shall get the better of Van Helsing.
Okay, so what films have scared you?
Poltergeist scared me a lot, Kev, when I was quite younger.
That's one of the scariest films I've ever seen. Seriously.
Mad, isn't it? A Spielberg film, actually scary.
Yeah, it's Disney, and it's a kid's film, and really frightening.
Here. When she goes out the room, she turns around, all of a sudden the chairs are stacked on the table.
Yeah, that really scared me.
Holy crap.
Yeah, rather than it being cheesy, even if you read that's cheesy in Hollywood and silly, but it's really frightening. There's something about the fact you don't see the ghost, except for that huge skull thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the end and the zombies' bodies falling out of stuff and all that. It's really comical and silly, and at the end of the movie, you feel chilled.
When that telly goes out the hotel room, they push it out, I'm like... Thank God for that.
Yeah, and you're disturbed. You go to bed disturbed.
And that clown that's in that kid's bedroom, never in a million years would I put a clown like that in someone's bedroom.
Some of my kids' toys are like, my parents bought them these like they're like the height of like a 2-year-old,
like Chucky.
Yeah, but not realistic. Really creepy eyes. They're like eyes, but there's nothing there.
I don't think the eyes are so important, and if they don't look real, they immediately look creepy.
So yeah, I mean, Poltergeist really. I didn't see it till about 10. And it really creeped me out. I didn't get through it. I had to turn it off. The zombies in the swimming pool was as far as I got. I think that was when it's the end. They've beat the monsters.
Yeah, and they're
staying in the house. And the film's carrying on and you're thinking, oh God.
Why are you doing this? This house is a clean house. Yeah, fucking right.
I think that's one of the reasons it's so disturbing is that ghosts don't go away.
People are so moronically stupid that they
just stay in the house again. Leave the kids in the other room. Okay.
There'll be no problems. So what problems can there be?
Yeah, it's a clean house.
Good film. Good film. That's proper scared me.
I'm trying to think what else is scary. I really liked Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Whether it scared me, I mean, it's a stylistic movie. We watched it in our 30s. We're very jaded and cynical, and we've seen so many horror films. And I don't know whether it really scared me, or maybe that's too strong a word. It gave the right emotions during the film. I mean, the bit when she gets dragged out of bed.
Yeah,
the fact you can't see, she just goes into the darkness.
Yeah. That scared me.
It's a clever bit of effects as well, because they had no money.
And when the monster stomps through the flower into the room, you can see the footprints.
You see the footprints, yeah. I've got a shiver.
Yeah.
I saw that. And they're the bits people always talk about. I think the bit for me was the going into the attic.
Oh, yeah. Why? What are you doing?
Don't go in the attic. And he's going, no, don't do that.
Actually, it's the bloke that makes it, because you think, you are such a frigging prat.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, and stuff starts happening, and he carries on.
Yeah. What are you? And he gets the Ouija board, and you're like, you fucking idiot.
I mean, we see it move. Yeah. So yeah, Paranormal Activity was really good. I mean, it didn't scare me, but night before I happened to not be able to sleep. I didn't know I was going to go and see Paranormal Activity, and I got up in the middle of the night and sat and watched BBC News. Went downstairs, The next night I woke up again, but I didn't get out of bed. I just thought, nah, I'll just stay here. So it did have that effect a little bit, a tiny bit was there. For something to have that effect on you at our age is a wonderful thing, isn't it? It shows we're still alive.
We're not completely dead inside. Yeah, I mean, I had the same experience. The same night, actually. It took me a little while to drop off, because I was thinking about all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I like Paranormal Activity.
I don't think I was. I think because when I came out of the film, we had to go back and get the kids and go home and etc. And so I completely forgotten about it when I went to bed. It was when I woke up in the night, it was still there. On the other hand, I mean, Blair Witch didn't do that for me, which is strange because that had much more hype. It was really hyped as the scariest film ever. Mark Kermode was raving about it because it was cheap.
Yeah, Blair Witch was a lesson in what marketing can achieve. It was a decent film.
It was a good film.
Done on an extremely low budget, and one of the studios happened to pick it up and run with it, and it made fantastic amounts of money.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity was actually made years ago.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And it was a viral internet thing, wasn't it? It was, yeah.
So it's sort of the triumph of what a good, well-directed film can achieve, regardless of the budget.
Blair Witch, it was a really good film. It was spoiled a bit for me, and I think part of the hype, they went with a big bunch of people, like 10 people, and there's a big peer pressure thing, and one person says, oh, that was crap, that wasn't scary, it was rubbish. So they're all saying, oh, it was rubbish, except me. It was good, shut up. Yes, Martha. Thank you, Martha. Can I listen to the Wenton Project now?
An elite force of super soldiers has been sent to infiltrate the lair of an alien being. Join me as I bravely command my team from my underground bunker, 200 miles away. What's going on down there? Have you seen it? I want it alive. Surely you... But... Now wait a minute. Is anyone else in radio range?
Yes, sir. It seems to be gone now. Oh my god, the horror. They're all dead. I think I scared it off with my super army training. For now.
Sergeant, get your men out of there.
Right away, sir.
Anyone left?
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm going to get me, sir. I've got to get back to my childhood sweetheart so we can get married.
Oh, for crying out loud. You know, if you say that, then got no chance. Have you actually ever seen any movies? Oh, what's the point?
Sir, I'm still here. It's still here too with me.
Are you the last of your team?
Yes, sir.
Good. It's down to you. Now, private.
I think I can take it on. Yeah, no monster's going to kill my friends.
That's even worse. Oh, forget it. Over and out, you dumbass. I remember the Hammer Dracula films with great fondness from it as a kid. I remember if I was up late, sort of thing, my dad would put it on, like, and I'd be absolutely shit scared, like.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of horror films when I was a kid, when I was too young, and really being really scared, like thinking I'm going to go to bed now, it's too scary. Yeah. But you don't. You watch it, and then you can't get to sleep. But yeah, I mean, I'm much more scared of... Well, I don't know about scared. I mean, I think I thought Frankenstein was cool when I was very young. When I got a little bit older, when I was maybe a teenager, I appreciated the shock value of it. And it is very shocking, and that Hammer one particularly really gets the horror of it, that it's bits of people fixed together, and the fact and the question of creating a new person, questions about consciousness and stuff like that. What's us? Are we the brain or are we a spirit?
I have to admit, I never saw Frankenstein as a horror story. It never frightened me. I saw it as more of a tragedy, really. Frankenstein was a very tragic monster sort of thing, brought into this world, not through any fault of his own. And a bit like King Kong, really. It was sort of put into a position where he just could not exist. He could not. The world would not let him exist. I always felt it was more of a tragedy, and I felt more sad for the character, or empathising with the character, than I did horrified by the character.
Yeah. I mean, you are supposed to feel like that, aren't you? I mean, that's the thing.
I genuinely feel that that's a bigger emotional investment in the film than the horror thing.
Yeah, and that's, obviously that resonates, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So that's why Frankenstein is awesome. Dracula wants to suck your blood.
Well, we like Dracula. There's a sexual thing about Dracula there.
Maybe that's why I don't like it, I don't know. It's just creepy. It's supposed to be creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's the hunter thing, the hunter that you can't possibly escape. Although you can, because there's plenty of ways to kill Dracula. Well, it's quite simple, really. You just listen to the Wenton Project. Captain's log. Stardate 497.3.
Here's another one for you, Doctor. What are you doing?
Oh, nothing. Just making my logs. Scientist logs. 14th of April, we've been given the go-ahead by the government to experiment on the prison population. All 3 specimens have died so far. Experiment 4 begins now.
What are you doing? Why have you brought me here? There must be some mistake. I'm out tomorrow.
Specimen 148 is restrained. I'm injecting the fluid now.
No, what is that?
I am now a giraffe.
How do you feel?
Like a giraffe.
Are you sure? Because you sound just like Nicolas Cage.
Thank you. He's a great actor.
What? Nicolas Cage? When?
He was in, that film.
Are you really a giraffe?
Yes.
You're not Nicolas Cage, are you?
No.
You're a giraffe?
Yes.
In the mind of a man?
Yes.
Sure?
No, I mean yes.
Aha! Susan, come in here. We've got another one. Take him away.
No, stop. I'm a giraffe. Grar, grar.
Scientist log. Experiment 4 has failed. There seems to be no way to escape from Nicolas Cage. Time is running out. We have to stop the spread of infection before it gets out to the general population. You were going to tell me a story about a spider, Kev.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of horror-y things, and I had a dream first thing in the morning. Kind of nightmare, because I was trying to think of horror-y, Twilight Zone-y trilogy stories, freaky stuff. And I had a dream that there was a scientist who swapped someone's mind with that of a spider. And it was going to swap it with a spider, and then the person just went, "Ah!" and just screamed, because it was a spider screaming. I decided that was too freaky, so I changed it to a giraffe. Because that was quite funny, and changed it, and it became Nicolas Cage. I'm sitting there changing this, just tweaking it, and then I said we need a scream. Nothing to do with that, just we need a scream at the start of the episode. And you said we need a spider. That's really weird.
Spiders elicit screams.
Yes.
May the Wenton Project be with you, always. Now it's time for part 3 of Dracula, Lord of Seduction. Good evening, sir. Come this way. Please take a seat. Can I get you a drink, sir? Thank you, no. The master will be through in a moment.
Good evening, old friend. How are you?
Confused?
So was I at first, but then I went to my first meeting.
Meeting?
That's right. I was extremely sceptical, and then I saw people walking away with thousands of pounds in cash.
Cash? Take this, you evil fiend! I'll take that, please, sir.
Really, Van Helsing, we're past all that now, crosses and stakes. Those were the old days. In the modern globalised world, relics like you and I have to look after each other. That's what I've brought you here for, an opportunity. All you need is 5 other people, then sit back and relax. I've already got 4.
What are you talking about?
I've seen people walk away with £50,000 in 1 month. Once you are in, everyone introduced by you is working for you. Every person they bring into the scheme puts cash in your pocket. It's foolproof, literally impossible to lose, and I'm offering you this opportunity, Van Helsing. Let bygones be bygones.
You brought me here for a pyramid scheme?
No, it's not a pyramid scheme. Nothing like a pyramid at all.
Then what is it?
If you were to represent it as a shape, and I'm not sure it is an appropriate representation, it would be more like a convergent polyhedron.
Okay, I think I'm going to go.
Listen to me, Van Helsing. When Igor took me down there, I saw him get a wad of cash this thick. Just come with us and you'll see.
Can I have my umbrella, please?
Dun 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 dun. That's it. So,
complete.
Dracula got Van Helsing there for a pyramid scheme. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
That was Dracula, Lord of Seduction.
Seducing people to join a pyramid scheme. Yeah, you probably got that.
You get it now.
Yeah.
There's always a twist at the end.
Twist, a little nugget of...
I didn't see that coming.
The story flips in the other direction and changes everything.
A bit like an M. Night Shyamalan film.
Yep. It turns out that he wasn't Dracula after all, it was a man dressed up. Or it turns out that...
Van Helsing is Superman.
Yes, or it turns out that it was all a TV show or something. Or it turns out that it was a really boring film after all and they couldn't think of a good ending.
It's the Wenton Project!
Portmanteau stories or portmanteau?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Portmanteau, anthology stories, really. Big thing in horror. You get the 3 stories. They're always interlinked. I mean, the word portmanteau means linked together. And they usually link someone telling the story in between or something like that. And there's some sort of theme running through all of them, like betrayal or something. Well, it's Twilight Zone. I think Twilight Zone is horror. It's brilliant horror. American horror. I suppose that defines American horror like Hammer defines British horror. And of course, I say of course, you should know this. Listeners, listen. League of Gentlemen Christmas special. That's portmanteau horror. League of Gentlemen is a horror. And it is a comedy. And it is awesome. But it's not comedy horror.
It's horror comedy?
Yeah.
What's the difference between comedy horror and horror comedy?
Well, comedy horror is basically a comedy. It's very funny. Set in comedy setting like The Addams Family. So it's a sitcom. And the jokes are about Cousin It is or hairy thing in the good-looking daughter who's terribly afflicted by being good-looking, but they don't, they say everything backwards and all that stuff. That's comedy horror. The League of Gentlemen is really funny, but it is horror, and that's why it's funny.
But you get horror with comedy in it. You wouldn't necessarily call it a horror comedy film. For example, Nightmare on Elm Street has comical elements.
It does, yeah.
There.
But that's a horror with a bit of joke.
Then you get the comedy horror, which is Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein and that kind of thing.
So yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah, and then you've got League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is...
League of Gentlemen.
What did I call it?
You said League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I need to see that again. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because you said it was alright, didn't you?
It's okay.
I mean, I saw it at the cinema and thought it was crap.
It's based on Alan Moore comic, and although it's pretty far removed, there's still a touch of Alan Moore in there.
Yeah, it doesn't compare to V for Vendetta. Certainly doesn't compare to Watchmen, which is a highly rated Wenton movie.
Yeah, well, as far as Alan Moore conversion goes, you'd probably put Constantine above that as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Constantine's probably above League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
But we have digressed once again.
We have digressed.
Yeah, are there any actual other films which are horror/comedies like League of Gentlemen? Or are they genre defining?
There must be. I'm thinking. There's black comedies that are...
The Rocky Horror Show?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Where it's very, very dark humour, where it's funny because somebody's died. They fell out of a window or something, you get that in Monty Python. The man falling out the window is really funny, and it's actually incredibly black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any films. But yeah, the thing about horror and comedy is that's why people don't take horror seriously. They don't get it. They think because there's parodies of it, because there's jokes about it, that means it's not very good. And in fact, it's the opposite. If you can parody something, it's got to have some weight in the first place. And the question is, what sitcoms could you watch from the 60s? You could watch now and happily watch them and laugh at them. There's two I can think of.
Is Bewitched from the 60s?
It might be, actually. It might be 70s, I'm not sure. But I'm thinking of the Munsters and Addams Family. And Bewitched, you're right, as well. They're all horror parodies ones. Particularly the Addams Family is really good. There's no other sitcoms from the 60s you would ever touch with a barge pole.
So horror's got longevity, but isn't the problem with horror that it has become very formulaic?
Yeah.
Something that was, that Scream played on quite heavily, that there are certain rules within horror, which are pretty closely...
Yeah, and that's what happened to Hammer, really, isn't it? They went narrower and narrower into a formula. They branched out slightly a bit, but basically it was they had to make films like that, where at the start they were pioneering, they were actually pushing things forward. And in only a space of like 15 years, they were backward. They were at the back, and the American movies were so much more sophisticated and better, really, in every way. So that's the thing. Another thing, what's the only good Carry On film?
I know you're going to make me say Carry On Screaming.
Yes.
I think all Carry On films are rubbish.
Then you haven't seen Carry On Screaming. You can't have seen it.
I have seen it.
No, because it's the best film you've ever seen.
Okay.
It's wonderful. Odd bod. Do you smoke? And she starts smoking. It's funny. It's really funny. Whereas Carry On Your Bottom, or whatever it's called.
What about Infamy? Infamy, they've all got it Infamy.
What's that from?
Carry On Rome or something like that.
Don't know.
Carry On Caesar, I don't know.
Here's the Wenton Project.
So
Frankenstein then. Frankenstein's cool. He says it's alive, and in the 90s movie, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, he says it lives, because in the book he says it lives. The proper one is it's alive. I don't care what's in the book. Okay. It's alive! It's cool, It's better. That's why he said it in the
It's alive.
The other movies.
Alive! Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Kev, actually.
Yeah, so this is what happened. In the real Frankenstein, this is what happened. It's alive!
Hello.
You can talk. I didn't expect that. Oh well.
You did give me the brain of a nuclear physicist, remember?
That does make sense, actually. I thought you'd be a groaning monster for some reason.
No, that makes no sense, you fool. I mean, master.
Watch it, you. Right, now to business. You see those wine boxes over there? Take them to the warehouse next door.
Warehouse? What warehouse?
Look, don't spread it around, but I make my money from wine. I'm a wine merchant. We don't make the stuff or anything. I wouldn't have the time. I'm like the middleman, simply getting product into the marketplace. Given the current climate, it's pretty tough at the moment, though. Right now, we're looking for a new supplier. Our current one is having a bit of trouble with the peasants. You know what peasants can be like once they get a couple of pitchforks and some burning torches. All it takes is a couple of virgins to disappear and all hell breaks loose.
So you're not a mad scientist, then?
I like to think of myself as such, but you always need a legitimate business. How else could I make my money?
Is that all this world is about? Money? You bored me into it, and for what? What have you done? I'm only a few seconds old and I'm already losing the will to live. I thought we'd get to be evil and stuff.
Actually, a capitalist society does have its benefits.
Doctor, I got those forecasts you asked for. Eek, oh my god, it's a Frankenstein.
What?
Frankenstein? I like that name. Thanks for giving me such a cool name, Doctor. What's your name?
Frankenstein.
What?
No, that's my name.
You mean Dr. what?
Frankenstein.
What?
Me.
You... what? I...
No, Frankenstein.
Sorry.
No, I mean you.
Me?
You're the monster. I'm...
That's not very nice.
You can't speak to the workforce like that. I'm a member of the union, you know.
I'm Frankenstein.
Oh, I thought you were the doctor. Good job, you look like a normal person. You, on the other hand, you look terrible. Your skin looks green.
Oh, for crying out loud. That's enough of that. I wasn't going to mention it, but it's actually Frankenstein. Not that it's a big deal or anything. Also, if you go to the union about this, I'll shoot you too. In the face.
Is Hammer Horror the horror equivalent of Carry On films?
No, because I'm a big fan of comedy, and Carry On films are not good comedy in any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, and Young Frankenstein is the ultimate parody, isn't it? The ultimate parody of horror. Everybody should see that. Even if you've never seen a horror film, you should still watch that.
What knockers? Terry Gary's fantastic in that. Roll in the hay.
Because he takes it a step further, doesn't he? Where Blazing Saddles was a normal film with a plot and characters, and everyone stayed in character. With Young Frankenstein, it's just a load of jokes.
Yeah.
It's just really, really silly. But yeah, Scream is a watershed, isn't it? It talks about the past, about how things became formulaic, how it became formulaic. But what follows Scream kick-started a resurgence in horror, but it was a resurgence in the horror films that Scream was about, and there weren't that many of them, really. I mean, that's such a small subgenre of horror. Became all of horror. Is the Saved by the Bell teen movie is now a horror film.
Yeah.
That's the genre. It's not a horror film if it's not got teenagers in it, slowly being bumped off and doing Saved by the Bell type things. Buffy without the story.
Do you know what, Kev?
What?
Scream was alright.
I really rate Scream. I haven't watched it for a while, but I think it's brilliant. It might be worth watching again. At the time, I really, really, really liked it. I thought it was fantastic. But I hadn't seen Nightmare on Elm Street for years, and my memory of Nightmare on Elm Street was much better than it was, and that sort of fed how good I thought Scream was.
Yeah.
And I think in my mind, Nightmare on Elm Street was still better, and it definitely isn't. Nightmare on Elm Street hasn't aged well at all. It's still very good. It's better than its contemporaries. It's better than Halloween. It's better than Friday the 13th, which, to be honest...
rubbish.
Yeah, but it's very old. It looks old. Whereas you watch The Omen, it doesn't look that old at all. It's like the picture quality is better in The Omen than in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street was the sort of slasher horrors, weren't it?
Yeah.
It was very sort of low budget affairs.
Yeah, it was of its time.
Yeah.
It was just cleverer than... Conceptually, it was very, very clever.
Yeah, I mean, Omen was much more of an epic thing.
Yeah, not that the sequels were much to talk about, but the first one, I think, was good. It was alright.
And the remake of a few years ago wasn't too bad either.
That was good. Yeah, I did like the remake. I mean, in some ways superior, but never be as recognised as the original.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah, can I order some food for delivery, please?
I don't do delivery, I'm afraid.
Can I have a McWenton with fries? Do you do any anything with cheese on top?
Under here, you will see the Wenton Project. Okay, we've come to the end of our Hammer Horror special. How many times have you heard that laugh in this episode? Can we get it in one more time? It just never gets old.
So we'd like to say goodbye, we'd like to say thank you, we'd like to say send us some emails, please. Emails.
It's the easiest form of communication invented. Like, all you got to do is drop a few letters onto a...
Kev@Wenton.co.uk, Sam at Wenton. Come on now. Go.
Feedback@Wenton.co.uk works as well.
Yeah, please, just send us some stuff we can read out, so we've actually got some material. Our next episode will be something we don't know what it is yet. Something. You will see.
Okay.
So, goodbye then. Oh, actually, I'll tell you how we'll leave. One of the very best pieces of horror related to the Hammer Horror canon, not actually Hammer Horror, but one of my favourite pieces of horror ever is Count Duckula.
In the heart of Transylvania.
Yeah. Castle Duckula, home for many centuries to a dreadful dynasty of killer vampire ducks, the Counts of Duckula. Legend has it these foul beings can be destroyed by a strike through the heart or exposure to sunlight. This will not suffice, however, for they may be brought back to life by a secret rite that will be performed once a century, and the moon is in the something. Everyone talks about Danger Mouse. You get sort of top.
Of course,
one.
He's the greatest.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's the greatest secret. Yeah. And you get those top 100 cartoons, and it's always Danger Mouse. And Danger Mouse is great, but Count Duckula's brilliant.
Yeah.
Igor and Nanny von Goosewing.
And
Goosewing.
And the cuckoo clock.
Yeah, tells jokes. jokes.
Yeah,
brilliant. So we'd like to say goodbye in a similar vein with good night out there, whatever you are. Oh, God.